did, boys. Oliver, how are you doing
Hey,
today?
good. You?
I'm doing well. And we also have Mateo joining us today. How are you doing, Mateo?
I'm doing great.
I like the setup. This is
Awesome.
clean today. All right, chat. Let's get right into it, guys. So for anyone who doesn't know Oliver here, Oliver, he is a VR developer for Rehab and Education. He is a Hydrokinetic and Telerehab physiotherapist and the podcast host. If you guys didn't know of Singularity Watch, I actually gave a listen to the one with Kavya before this one. That was a really, really good listen, and I didn't know that before that, so I'm now definitely going to listen to the rest of them. But
Awesome.
let's start it off with just a little bit of feel-good comments, because one thing I have noticed, and I know when I asked you a little bit about what we may be talking about, that there are some things that were not of interest to you, even though they were the most popular comment, but that's kind of what I appreciated, because there was a time not very long ago where I was getting a little depressed with VR, in the sense that it was kind of overtly negative on social media, especially when Facebook and ads came around. Ever since Blaston kind of reversed, I don't think it was them who made the shift, but maybe it's the mix of people settling in post-corona, wanting to explore different realities, but it seems more net positive lately, and a lot of people seem to be exploring the non-gaming, or if it's gaming related, the fringe gaming elements of embodying avatars, of finding the really fun stuff to do. I don't know if you've noticed that, Oliver, but if you have, I'm curious why you think there's this change lately? It seems more positive lately.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I kind of skimmed over the whole ads thing. I just honestly wasn't really that interested in it. I don't really want to focus on that kind of stuff, although it's a really important thing, but there are people who are better at discussing that than me. So I didn't sort of soak up much of that negativity kind of thing. That's not to say that it's not a really important, conversation to have, and obviously that kind of thing does worry me. But life is full of hectic stuff. I see loads of tough stuff at work, and I don't particularly want to always be thinking about that type of stuff. So I was actually focusing more on cool stuff that I'd seen in VR, and I haven't really noticed anything much new coming in terms of, I don't know, software and stuff like that lately. So that seems to be a bit of a lull. But I do like the feeling that everybody has this, everybody's waiting, right? There's this feeling that everybody's waiting, and sooner or later something's going to come out. That's just a sort of you can kind of feel it. A little bit like, when it's some kind of calm before the storm or something like that. I can't think of a better metaphor right now.
Yeah.
So I think definitely something's going to happen, but I don't know what it's going to be or when it's going to be. But it does really feel like there's something big's going to happen. That's going to be the second kind of wave that drives stuff. I think Quest 2 was probably the first. And that is selling so much more. So, I mean, clearly it's going somewhere, right?
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's almost like summer movies. They're not typically the best. You know what I mean? Like, summer's not a time where you put out your A game. That's more closer to the end of the year when award season's coming around. So I have a feeling during the holiday season is when we're going to be seeing a lot more of the software. I have not been on point of staying in contact with a lot of developers and getting early access to know what's coming. Mateo is much better than that than I am. Mateo probably knows there's some gold coming down the line.
Well, I mean, we talk about it a lot. Well, VR in general has its ups and downs. Like, you have your exciting moments, like the announcement of VR, the first consumer headset. Oh my God, this is the future. And then, lull in games. You need, crazy hardware to run it. Then it gets better. You get standalone hardware. So we always have those cyclical up and downs. There's also seasons. Like, there's less people playing video games in the summer.
Yes.
Yet, less big blockbusters come out. Not that VR is known for its blockbusters. But there's not, anything really that we know of coming down the pipe. Anything that they've been working on for years. If there's going to be a surprise announcement, I haven't really heard it. Like Vertigo 2, I'm really excited for. That's one that kind of sneaks under the radar. Lone Echo 2. There's some cool ones here and there. I really hope, you know how Valve operates. They're just like, all right, we're ready to go now. And they'll give us an announcement, when they're ready.
No warning.
And be like, okay, in 2 months, the game will be here.
And it will be really good, too.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope they surprise us again. But other than that, I wish I had some gold nuggets for you. I don't.
No, but what I'm looking forward to, at least right now, during these lulls, is like you have a lot of downtime. So when a lot of big games come out, especially if you're making content, you get into this like hole of it's game after game after game. If it was busy, which is fun, but it's also you do not have the time to invest in the product the way you should. I kind of made that point on a different stream where I really enjoy going through games a little slower now in VR because I want to pay attention to the artwork. Mateo and I have been talking about Bioshock, the Half-Life Alyx mod forever. That game I took so slow in that level because the atmosphere was amazing. So in these lulls, I find that I have a little more time to go to these VR chat worlds I wouldn't have, to try non-VR games of just like, hey, is this fun? Is this, where is this going? Because that's what I like doing. And that's why, Oliver, I'm really excited to kind of hear more about your background first in the VR development for like rehab and education. We can go from there because these are the kind of things that I'm spending my summer exploring a little bit because I have all that extra time to really ingest all that. And it's really good stuff. People are missing out if they aren't checking out this fringe type of content right now.
The lull is actually a really good time to. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have a huge backlog. Like, I don't get much time to play because, first of all, there's developing, and you always feel like ashamed if you're playing instead of developing. You're like, I should be doing something else right now. Secondly, it's not like I don't know if you play something like The Witcher, which I'm a huge fan of. You can sit there 8 hours and you get off, feel like a bit like shit because you've been glued to screen all day. You do about 2 hours of VR and you're actually kind of, I'm not going to say tired unless you'd be doing Thrill of the Fight or something, but you're kind of
I'd be tired.
Satisfied, right? You feel like you've been somewhere. You don't feel like you've, it gives me the feeling that I have a memory. I'll think back to somewhere I've been and I'll be satisfied for a few days. I won't have this feeling of, oh, I just wasted time playing a game. And I wasn't really anywhere. I was just kind of in front of a screen. That's the biggest difference for me, and I really like that. But it also means that I spend less time in it. Anyway, the backlog is huge, so definitely I'm in no hurry for new stuff to come out. There's so much stuff. I still need to play Walking Dead, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I managed to finish like Half-Life Alyx and Vertigo remastered, which is amazing. And what was the other one? And the budget cuts finally got around to. I love those. But yeah, and there's lots of stuff going on the kind of more, I don't know, how do you want to call it? Sort of VR for kind of like what's not gaming. Is there a name for what's not gaming?
I see a lot of people throwing around the term like VR for good, which is great and all. I think it hits the feels. I don't think it's a good marketing way to say it because it doesn't exactly it sounds like VR for wokeness in a way. So I
tried that for a bit. I tried saying like tech for good, and then I thought that sounds a bit Boy Scoutish, and it kind of annoys me while I'm saying it, right?
I feel like you say VR for good, someone's just going to immediately be like, whatever. I would say,
what is the term? Yeah,
I say fringe VR a lot because I think fringe VR brings up a little bit of curiosity. At least, hey, this is fringe. Well, what are you talking about? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but I get a picture of like a VR headset this big and like light bulbs sticking in the top when you say fringe VR.
That's
a
true.
tinfoil hat.
You're thinking of Walter and
yes,
Olivia,
exactly.
Right?
Yes. But yeah, well, let's not say VR for good because I do hate that term. Well, maybe by the end of the stream we'll have a better term for it. But yes, I'm with you on the VR for other stuff than gaming.
Yeah, serious VR. No, not serious VR. That sounds rubbish too.
Like
There's no
VR beyond gaming.
Yeah. Anyway, that thing. So there's a lot of stuff going on there, and it doesn't really get much. You have to really dig deep to find it. Like this stuff, I had no idea was there really. I just found out there's a kind of a loop station. Somebody made a loop station in VR, which you can't get hold of unless you sort of find the person, which is pretty cool. I mean, loop station without any kind of limitations.
Can you wait? When you say loop station, can you explain that?
So when you so think of it like an audio multi-track when you're playing. If you're doing like a one-man band thing, you sometimes see people, they have like I can't remember the model, but like a Boss 505 or a 303, I think it is, and they're like things with lots of pedals on them, and you can kind of loop riffs of guitar or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And so you can kind of like do a piece of beatbox, loop it, and then sing a bass line over it, and then loop that, and can make a song on your own, which is pretty cool. But that in VR is even cooler because you can kind of interact with objects and shuffle stuff around. So there's a lot of potential for musical stuff, although I think that will probably explode when we get into AR, I would say,
Mm.
because when you get into AR, it's going to be, I don't know, it just feels like it's going to be more practical, right?
What musical apps have you been using? Because I know there's like Paradiddle for drums. That's a big one. I don't know too many other ones, to be honest.
I tried Synth VR. It's pretty cool.
Yep.
It's like a modular synth you can do stuff on. That's nice. And I haven't really done much because I think it's way too early, and most of them don't have MIDI incorporated, which is a way to kind of extrapolate what you've done or input what you've done in another program, so that you can then go and do some serious stuff on it. Because it would be cool to be able to create stuff in there and then take it out and work in a more serious way on it. So use it more as a kind of a creative process rather than using it as a proper studio. You don't want to do everything in VR, but it's a bit like when they get Blender hooked up with VR control, right? That's going to be awesome because you're going to be able to model and do the kind of fast creative stuff inside Blender. But I don't think you want to do fine adjustments in VR. You want to do more the kind of, I have got an idea in my mind. It needs to get, I need it out now, because that's where you lose time, right? If you
We're just not there in hardware yet either. Between how comfortable it is to do the fine motor movements, it's okay. We're not there yet. It's not a bad thing. We're also not there to really listen to music for long term in it, unless you have an extra audio solution, because I think you're losing a lot of the fun if you don't have good audio.
The Quest audio isn't good enough?
Not even close.
The Index audio is pretty damn good. I mean, the Index comes close to these, honestly, and I'm not going to get onto Apple because otherwise Scoble will pop out and say
no.
Oh, God.
Is he getting paid per tweet?
No, I had a bit of a go at him the other day, but I'm sure they're actually really good headphones, but,
I don't know about that. I hear good things about the Vive Focus 3. Yeah, Vive Focus 3. The audio on that is apparently really good. Of course, I'll never probably hear it, but from what I'm hearing that is the audio solution. But I don't know how they can claim that if only 1% of the population hears it.
I doubt they're better than the Index ones. I mean, the Index ones are really good. Like, literally, if they had a little bit more bass, you could almost mix on them. They just sound, I don't know, they're just really precise. They're just really nice speakers. They're like, I don't know, I don't notice much difference when I, move from these. These aren't anything like super expensive, but they're a nice thing that you would use for mixing, right? So just basic Sennheisers, right? But I don't really notice that much difference. Just the low end, it's a bit less on the low end. But apart from that, they're awesome. I was really blown away by that.
The Index has spoiled us. I mean, it really has. Because the positional audio is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And like when I was first wearing that headset, I like the first few days, I would like take it off and look around my room and be like, where is the audio actually coming from? Because it really sounds like something's creeping around your room, or whatever the case may be, or there's a leak or something. Like whatever the sound effect in the game is. Yeah, that's
especially if you're in a silent game. So if you're in a silent room and you don't have any external reference, and it's cool because
in the Matt cave.
What do you think about does like VR have the ability to maybe, so I've one time in my life I've been able to go to a Guitar Center after hours when it was closed, and I knew somebody who worked there. I repaired his car, he invited me over, and he had one hell of a setup. I mean, we're talking, I don't know how much, it was thousands and thousands of dollars for this audio setup, and he told me, listen to this, it'll be different than anything you've ever heard. An amazing audio experience. He said some people cry. I didn't get that far, but I felt like I wanted to be in that room for hours and hours. It was amazing. Now, with VR, though, I don't think we're not going to get there, the thousands and thousands of dollars of equipment. But being immersed in it, I'm wondering if my mind can almost trick me, maybe, to give me a better sense of that high-end dollar product. But because I don't have all the external stimuli that I would have in real life, maybe we can get closer to that audiophile experience without spending that much money. I'm open to like concerts and things like that in VR if we can make that experience a little bit better.
First of all, like the thousands and thousands of dollars thing, there's a cutoff point way before that when the money stops really giving you anything. And if there's a lot of even sound engineers who buy into that, which is rubbish because it's snake oil. Like, it's not that a preamp, if you spend the minimum and it's pretty clean, you're not going to hear any difference. But people will spend thousands and thousands on it, and will even probably tell me I'm an asshole for saying this, but because they've spent those thousands of things. And there's big debates on this. But then when you do a blind test on people, on sound engineers, they can't hear the difference between a 320 kbps MP3 and a WAV file. So if you can't tell the difference in a blind test, I very much doubt that you can tell the difference between, analog summation or whatever you want on a big, analog desk and something which somebody could buy in their own house. So there's a whole market, snake oil market on, esoteric stuff. So actually, I think it is possible to do something relative. You have to spend a bit, right? You're not going to have amazing audio unless you spend at least 300-400 euro. I don't know what that is in dollars, say $500 or something on headphones, for example, right? And the main thing, if you're buying loudspeakers, is going to be your room, but you don't have that problem in VR because you don't have any of the phase problems you get in a room. So probably I would say yes, and I think the thousands of dollars thing is there's a lot of placebo in there, right? I know this costs $1,000, it looks amazing, so it sounds great, but if you were listening to that without seeing it, would you really notice the difference? I don't know.
Have either of you been to any virtual reality concerts or anything yet? Because I know there's been plenty of them. They don't get a lot of attention, but they are out there.
I didn't find a concert. I found a club. One night my girlfriend was sleeping in the other room, so I went to a club in Old Space, and that was weird because I was on my own and I actually felt embarrassed to dance on my own, right? Like, I've heard you say this a few times, right? The fact that you kind of feel shy in VR, and that happens to me. It's amazing how this kind of visual effect can kind of, like, they see me, they don't see me, but they do. Oh, it's weird. So yeah, but I haven't been to live. I haven't been
to a VR club. I mean, the closest thing was like Thrill Seeker had some like award party in VR chat, and that was a bunch of people dancing around and stuff. That got weird though, because if you're familiar with Thrill's VR chat community, that got a little bit too weird for me. Wasn't your typical club.
Wait, you don't want to herp? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it got a little weird for me. So that's what made me feel uncomfortable. But no, like, I lose myself in VR. I mean, generally I'm pretty outgoing, so like I used to like the club scene, but I feel like there's too many other senses that are not getting like captured. Plus, you still feel the hardware. Like, you're still like, that kind of keeps you out of full immersion.
Yeah.
Like, if you're jumping up and down, you feel the headset, you feel the cable, stuff like that. You also don't feel like the people around you. Like, it just doesn't feel the same.
Yeah. True.
There's a whole new like dynamic that we all are going to have to learn. Like, us three, we have quite a few years of understanding social cues, facial expressions, how to talk to people IRL. Where maybe majority of my life, like if I had to like literally do the math, more of my life has been offline than it has been online. But there's a whole generation where that's sort of starting to change, and how they feel comfortable in a social setting online, they're reading it different than us. And I think that's why you see some people who are really good in VR chat or something, some people who are bad. We're all just learning how to process that information a little differently. It's taken me a lot longer. I'd like to fix that because there's a whole like good world out there to explore, but I definitely have walled myself off, unfortunately, a little bit due to my own insecurities in that. But we're all learning.
Yeah. I guess, do you really want to recreate things that you can do in real life? And that's the thing for me. I don't really want to recreate something that I can get in real life and is great now. Like, I don't really want to replace musicians and concerts unless there's a need or unless it's an extra thing. But I don't really want that to stop being there in the real world, right? I don't think that's a great use of it. It's nice for an extra thing. It's great if you've got an old person who can't get out of his house so that he or she can go for a long walk somewhere. Like, I don't know, my uncle used to go walking in the Alps here, right? He can't walk anymore because he had like a problem. He's old, he had physical problems and stuff. So he can't walk very far anymore. So I thought, how cool would it be if there was a VR good enough so that he could, be taken. I'd kind of thought about an app that would be great, something called, Take Me Where I Can't Go or something like that, right? Now that's a really cool use, but I don't want myself to have to, if I can walk under the rain or wherever, and feel and smell everything, I want to do that in real life. So I don't want VR to replace stuff. I'd like it to kind of give us extra possibilities and compensate for things that are missing for some, for example.
So
I mean,
go ahead, Matteo.
No, I was gonna say I don't think it'll ever get there. I mean,
I
mean, if it could, I'm all for it. And then again, you probably don't want to replace real life, but I can't imagine like a true like nature vista, like that real like, I don't know, just that great view wherever it may be. I don't think you could ever really recapture all of that in VR. But what you could do, and if we get close, you can make things more extreme. Like we can't go out and play Grand Theft Auto in real life, without getting arrested. Obviously, or we're not going to last very long. But if you can make that feel real and then do it in VR, that's pretty crazy.
Course,
I don't know how healthy that is, but
I mean, it's coming.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So let's end it on music here, though. Oliver, what would you want from a music experience? What enhances the experience that you wouldn't be able to do for real life? Is it maybe when a singer's or a musician or performer's in the center and you have the autonomy to move around as you see fit? We're adding basically, instead of changing the music experience, we're just enhancing it with visuals that you wouldn't ever be able to obtain IRL. Is that an option? Or is it more based off availability of people to all see it at the same time? I'm kind of thinking of ways to enhance it, but that in a way is really the same thing.
I guess from the point of view of being a musician, I used to do that, but I haven't really thought about that much anymore, because if I think about that, then I go down another rabbit hole and I don't really want to. But I guess the only really useful thing there would be having a way to jot down ideas quickly and in a very kind of instinctive and physical manner. I mean, it's not much fun writing notes with a mouse on a MIDI sequencer or whatever. You can play them on a keyboard, which might be great if you're good at playing on a keyboard, but some people might really like the idea of punching them out in the air, right? So I think there are use cases which are great for some people, but I think more than for creating music, it's going to be more about for people to learn how to play music, for example. I think that's the big thing. So something that kind of makes you aware that you're going in time to a song without you having to really study the fundamentals, and kind of eases you into that. I think it can be great for learning, for example, for learning to play the piano or something, right? I would imagine there's a lot of things you can do there, and I think some people may already have done something like that.
There's Virtuoso, I think, is the piano app right now.
Imagine something where you sing and it takes your pitch and you have a visual feedback on what note you've done. So you've got your 12 semitones of intervals, right? So I'm going to do a fifth and I see that in a different color. I know it's a fifth. If I see orange, I know I've done a fourth, let's say, right? So that's cool, because I get sort of an extra sense feedback for what I'm doing. You could do that on a TV screen, but it's going to be cooler in VR, I suppose. Yeah, I would see it for stuff like that, and then probably loads of stuff I haven't thought of. But
well, I know they just did like the I can't pronounce. Someone correct me. Is it Varjo? How do you pronounce that headset?
For me, it's Varjo. I've decided for myself that's what it is, and if they don't like it,
yes, you heard it here first.
Yeah,
give me phonetics or your Varjo. But anyway, I saw that headset when they were using it for the military, Air Force. There's a new study that said that it cut down training time for a pilot by up to 30 to 50%, just by giving them the ability to learn through that. First, they can skip a lot of the safety protocols, because you obviously can't put someone in a real aircraft while they're learning. At some points, they're going to have to, but early on. But now they can throw them in there from day one without any fear of safety or harm. So that's interesting. But we've been speaking enough about music. I'm really more interested to hear, the whole reason that I kind of follow you a lot of times is to hear more about what you're doing. You're developing an app right now, and I don't want to mispronounce it because I feel like it's like one of those words that I will, but it's is it Vierkinesis?
Yeah, it's Vierkinesis, yeah.
Tell us about
it's
that.
It's not really the, yeah. So basically, I'm going to go kind of in how I got there kind of thing. So I work in a clinic, which we have a lot of public patients. It's basically, it works this way, right? In Italy, you have a clinic that gets paid by the state to treat patients that would be going to the National Health Service, but you have a lot of clinics actually working for the state. So you have a lot of things that are not exactly state buildings, and they do that business, right? So without getting into it too much, we treat, that means that we treat patients with a lot of kind of pretty bad stuff. It's not like, oh, I have a bit of pain here in my deltoid. It's more like stuff like, stroke, Parkinson's, that kind of stuff. So think rehab for, when you say rehab, I think it was Max Noir, told me, when you speak about rehab in America, people think of a different type of rehab. Instead, this is kind of
like physical therapy.
Yeah, physical therapy. This is right. So, so that's kind of the starting point. That's the type of people I have to treat, right? And at one stage, when I got into VR, I was using Beat Saber, of course, which is a game I play a hell of a lot of, and I just thought that would be really good for patients. That and other stuff would be really cool to try out on patients, right? Because because before that I developed some other stuff, which was like a glove you could play Guitar Hero on for doing repetitive movements, right? Why is that? Because often you need people to repeat something loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of times for it to stimulate the neuroplasticity, which is the brain's capability of making changes or making new connections after a stroke or something, where the connections have been severed, so you need something new to come in place. But you often can't get that unless you do a lot of repetitions. So, and often if you tell somebody go home and do this, they'll do it 5 minutes and they'll say fuck off, I'm fed up with this, right? So you need some way to keep them on it, and games are perfect for that, right? And VR has the added benefit that you can do stuff like moving your weight from one leg to the other, reaching out, and you have a sense of depth, which you don't get with a screen, right? In telerehabilitation, we use the Microsoft Kinect, but the problem is that they don't really understand the depth, so they're never quite sure. And it's good, but it gets a bit annoying, right? And I think there's also some studies going on about the fact that VR has a tendency to stimulate the brain in a way that you kind of learn better. I'm not going to go into that too much because I don't know the actual studies. But I saw something posted on Twitter recently.
There was one, just to kind of fill in that gap. There was one, the only study that I read was the Anne Frank House one, where they gave a book, this typical study course for Anne Frank and her house the traditional way, just by textbook. And they gave another group the Anne Frank experience in VR. Both only had an hour to go through everything. They were presented the same amount of facts and then quizzed on them. And the group that did it in VR had about an 80% more retention rate of the information longer than anyone else. So it's a very small anecdotal study, but I think it's powerful nonetheless.
It makes it, you would think it would be, wouldn't you? I mean, we need studies to prove it, but I would imagine it to be powerful. And it has a very gripping effect on people when they use it. They're like, even just when they use the Kinect, they're like, I want to do this therapy more often, right? The difference is that when you do telerehabilitation, the therapist is in the clinic and the patient is at home. With VR, you could use this differently. There's a hole especially in like national health, right? Because it's completely different if you have a private system. But in general, people have their physiotherapy, then they stop the physiotherapy, right? And then they have like this moment where they don't really have anything. They're supposed to do something. So the therapist will go, well, I don't know, do some swimming or try and do this exercise and this exercise. And that kind of tends to not be very effective because people aren't that good at sticking with stuff, right? I mean, if you think about the gym and stuff, right? So, and
I think Jeff Bowl Jr. is in here. He's going to be angry hearing you talking about getting off fitness. We're sorry, Jeff.
So I guess the idea is that there's something missing that comes after the therapy and also before, right? Because there's also something which is, I don't know, I call it prehabilitation. So if you're somebody, I mean, imagine how many people have very little social life because they can't really move around much. Older people, I'm thinking, right? They're going to be much more prone to a stroke or anything like that because of moving around less, because of socializing less. So you can actually use that as a form of exercise that's easy and fun to do and isn't incredibly intense, and you can do that in your own space. So I guess my app is kind of between these things. It doesn't have one aim. It has a few of them, right? And some people have even criticized that. I mean, talking to me, they've said it's not very specific. And I don't want to make something specific. I want to make something a-specific because I can use it on more people, right?
What's their reasoning between, or on that's a problem that it's not specific? Because obviously VR and using it in this sense is fairly new. What reasoning do they have that it has to be specific right now?
Well, because they're thinking from a clinical and academic and kind of scientific research background. So they're thinking, I need you to do something specific that solves a specific problem and prove it, right? And I don't really think so much in that mindset because I have day-to-day kind of relationships with, I'm not so much on the academic side, I'm more on the kind of practical side. We're going to be using this app. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't think the people who I'm collaborating with want me to go into too much detail, but we're going to be using the app in a country in the Middle East where there are a lot of people with injuries, right? So the idea is that they don't have access to physiotherapy, so they have something they can do, and we're going to try and see how that works, right? Something they can do to kind of fill in that gap. It's not the same thing, but it's one use of this, right? So anyway, I can see a few uses for this, and the whole thing is very simple. It's an app which is similar to something like Beat Saber, but you don't do the slicing gesture because Eric, you froze. You were
Me?
like, I said Beat Saber, and he was like, but no, it's not a slicing thing. It's like a reach and touch thing, which is something fundamental, right, in everyday life, because that's something you do. And it's also good for shifting weight between legs, which might seem like something really obvious, but for somebody with stroke, that's a huge problem, stroke or, anything similar. So I'd like to do more exercises, more games, but that was kind of the most universal, easy, simplest thing to do from the start. And why would that be different from something like Synth Riders? Well, mainly because it has a calibration system where you can measure where you can reach with each arm. So you don't have like, okay, this is me, T-shape, but it's like, okay, this arm can go this far in each direction and this arm can go this far in each direction. And then the spawn points are going to respect that for each hand. And then you have a menu which doesn't require any button clicking. It's all completely just pushing stuff. And if you want, sliders, or you just put your hand in, you move them up and down like that. So it's completely free from buttons. Obviously, you have to get the app starting, but I can't do anything about that.
Sure. When it comes to these apps that you're kind of experimenting with and learning from people, have you heard anything about, because I've heard anecdotes myself. I've kind of noticed this sometimes. If I have a little bit of pain going on from like post-workout, maybe I did something stupid and wrong, wasn't paying attention, hurt my shoulder, something when I'm playing in VR, I can't really explain it. Mateo and I both talk about how we are getting older and get pain randomly. Something when I'm playing VR, it seems to dissipate a little bit. I'm not sure if that's because my cognitive load is so overwhelmed in VR, but are you seeing anything from people who are using this app that maybe be in pain, that they are noticing good returns on maybe some pain management as well while they're using this?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of stuff on VR and pain. In this case, I wouldn't put it down to distraction, otherwise you would stop and you'd have pain again. I think it's more to do with the type of movement, which tends to be kind of gentle. Like you don't have any much load, you just have your body weight, right? Yeah, okay, you have the controllers, but they're not that heavy.
Yeah.
Unless you're one of those nutters putting like weights on their arms and doing Beat Saber and stuff, which is completely crazy.
That guy.
Oh,
There.
really? Have you been doing that?
No, I think we talked about doing that once as a gag. Anyone in the chat, if you're putting wrist weights on during Beat Saber, like, congrats, you're a badass. I get it, you're cool. It's really bad for you. It's a really bad idea.
Yeah, I think you could probably do it in a game like The Climb, where your movements are slow. But I wouldn't be doing it on a fast-paced thing, just because you've got a very long talk, right? So you're going to be, I don't know. I might not do anything if you kind of have the right physique or stuff. But it's probably not good to experiment with, seeing if it fucks your shoulder.
I don't know, Mateo. You ever messed around with that? Like, I remember I made a stupid video where I think I zip tied my Vive wands to 5 or 10 pound dumbbells and played Beat Saber, and it was a very stupid idea. It hurt really bad afterwards. I would not recommend that at all.
No, I have not played around with anything like that because I know better. I mean, I guess if someone wanted to incorporate something like that, if they had like the bungee cords, the bungee bands strapped to your waist, and you did that shadow boxing and stuff, that would be effective. That would be the smart way to do it. But that's here nor there. But this whole concept of what you're talking about, I find really interesting. I actually just got done with physical therapy not too long ago. I have a reoccurring back injury. When I was 25 years old, I herniated a disc, and I had another one that was bulging. And they just, they act up from time to time now. And not being able to walk is not fun. But, I mean, I couldn't see the VR usage for my specific issue, but I was observing a lot of other people there. And, there was a lot of scenarios where they had to keep, someone had a shoulder issue.
Yeah.
And they have to keep repeating certain movements. And, the doctor's like, okay, I know it hurts, but you got to go a little bit further. So something like, a VR experience that's distracting or, helping them along the way, easing the process could be huge. And I know we were talking about studies earlier. You mentioned the Anne Frank one, but there was another study that said there's also a time crunch in VR. So time passes faster. You don't realize how long you're in VR. So if you're doing repetitive movements, you'd be able to do them longer because you don't realize how long you're, in VR for. So it should help time pass by quicker.
Absolutely, that's a good point. Going back to what you're saying about, I know it hurts, but you've got to go a bit further. I would like it, and this is kind of not just on this. You were okay. Sorry, I'm opening up 2 points at the same time. There's so much to say. No, I was going to say. I think there's very much a narrative, and you see it a lot in films, right, where there's this idea that physiotherapy or anything like physiotherapy is like you got to suffer, right? You got to suffer to get better, and that's bollocks. That's not true at all. You probably shouldn't have too much pain most of the time. So definitely something like VR that makes you have fun while doing it is awesome, because you want to kind of not, pain can also be created. Like, we make the pain. It's not our shoulder that makes it, right? It's something that happens in the brain. And I'm not saying it's a mental thing. It's literally something between neurons. That there's a little kind of courtroom where they decide whether it's a good idea to feel pain or not, on the basis of whether that part of the the shoulder has been unstable or whatever, right? So because we know that, then it means that we have to be really careful about how we think, how we educate patients on pain, and how we make them think about their bodies. If you get somebody to tell them, be careful because you might fall apart, or, I know it hurts. I know it hurts is already telling you that that's going to hurt, right? That's not encouraging. It should be like, I'm not even going to talk about the pain. Just do the movement, have fun, right? But going back to, this is kind of one of many points, and this goes way back to the first point that Eric opened up, that I think there's a lot of cool stuff in VR that's definitely going to be taken up by companies, and they're going to try and sell it to us for the kind of most stupid stuff or the most kind of basic stuff. But there's a hell of a lot of stuff that we can really make better. Like, we've seen technology kind of take us away from certain things, right? We've seen people not looking at each other because of smartphones. We've seen you can see it with children tend to have less motor control than they used to. There's a lot of negative effects and there's a lot of good effects as well, right? But I think VR could be used to take us closer to what the good things that we lost, but without throwing away the technology, right? We can make something like gaming more physical. I remember when Pokemon came out, everybody was angry with it because what are they doing? And I was like, well, at least they're outside, right?
Oh, you're talking about Pokemon Go?
Yeah. I mean, it was just a cell phone thing, but I was like, at least they're outside doing stuff. Isn't that better than these things? It's better, right, than having, than just being glued to a screen indoors, right? So I reckon that can be huge. I mean, imagine going to a forest with your friends and throwing Hadoukens at each other between the trees. I mean, how cool is that? that you've got the real world and the kind of digital world in one, and it's not doing anyone any harm, right?
I remember when, like as an anecdote with the Pokemon Go that I took as like a net positive. It kind of opened my eyes. I was a little jaded on the Pokemon Go when it first came out. It seemed kind of trivial. It just wasn't for me, and I was kind of judging on it. But I specifically remember there was a night where I was on a date, and we stayed till when the bar closed. It was about 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. Excuse me, at that point, and we were outside on a bench outside the bar, just talking. We were having a good time, and there were children and kids everywhere outside to the point where cops showed up to say you have to go home. And it happened because apparently in that place we were at, there was like 3 gyms that were close by, and people just were up late doing this. And while the cops took that negatively, I kind of almost stopped listening to the conversation I was having on the date and was just focusing on these kids running around. And I loved it. I really gained a lot of respect for the app, and they were, granted, I don't think these kids should have been out at that time where they were. It was not the best of area, but it really was nice to see this mix of technology and real life, bringing people together, making a move, and bonding in a way. And I haven't seen something like that from VR directly. I think, like you brought up earlier, AR, just like with music, is really where the power is going to come from. But there's a utility here that is more than just gaming. That really brings us together. It was a unique experience. I really won't forget that.
That example, it's almost like there's a whole nother dimension right there on top, but unless you have the tools, you can't see it.
Yeah, like a layer of reality on top, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Huh?
There's a lot of potential in AR.
There really is.
I mean, that's where we're gonna end up. I mean, I've no doubt about that. Like, it's not gonna be brain implants. It's gonna be super slick AR all over the place, and like a second layer of reality everywhere in the world. I reckon. I mean, I can't imagine people having brain implants.
Wait, you don't want a car salesman to crack open your head and put a chip in?
Yeah, man.
No, it's not for you?
I stand Elon, my man. He can put it. He put it in a pig. Good enough for me. Put it in my head. Let's go.
I don't think.
No. When it goes to the do you call them patients? Is that what we would call?
Yeah, patients. Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're talking about patients and not something else, I don't know.
Yeah, patient. What do you have to convince them to experience this new medium? Like when I've got to imagine the age range who are the ones most likely to be using this will maybe the most averse to trying something like this off the bat. Do you have to convince them? Is there an education process, or do you find that they're pretty willing to just go in and try this new form?
I'm glad you brought that. I'm really glad you brought that up because it's a really good question. In my experience, and I think it's something that I disagree on with with some colleagues, there's a kind of an idea amongst colleagues, but not just physiotherapists, especially like other figures in healthcare. There's a kind of idea that when you're old, right, then you don't want to do young things. You have to do old things, right? You're supposed to have boring color walls and brown, beige kind of color. You don't want stimuli that are too intense and stuff like that. And to some respects, in some respects that's true. You don't want to be drinking loads of rum and stuff because you can't handle that anymore. But in many ways, a lot of people, and there he goes. I think that I haven't seen that. I think that when you involve the elderly in something stimulating, they want a chance to be young again, right? They want a chance to do something that's new. And I've involved a lot of people, including my own mum, in stuff that is, my mum's not that elderly, but, old enough to kind of appreciate doing something completely new like gaming. And I think it's just something that they kind of like because it's something completely new. They often won't go there because they think they're not able. But VR has the fact that it's so immediate to get into. It's not like you need to click buttons or do or understand. You don't have all that literacy around it that you have with computers, right? You don't have all the UI works this way. You can have a really, really simple, intuitive system. And so no, I've used it mainly with older people, and I haven't had one who said, I don't want to put that on my head. Obviously, I didn't. You have to kind of choose beforehand. You won't go and maybe offer that to somebody who you can kind of tell isn't that type of person. But there's a lot of them who are really, really interested in trying new stuff. And also the Telerehab habilitation, right? That was I think the average age there was like 70 upwards. I didn't have anyone younger than that.
Wow.
And they were all like, I want to do it again. So absolutely, it's a misconception.
It's funny you say that because my dad was not a technology guy, like no interest, never played video games, anything. And he was around, I think, 67 at the time. And I showed him like the Vive. So I had the setup down here and I showed him. And he was absolutely blown away. And I just have like this memory, because my dad has passed away now. I have this memory of just like how blown away he was. And he, like, for him, he put this thing on and he was just like, where did you get this? Like to him, I went to the future and brought this thing back. He was so blown away. So yeah, the age really doesn't matter. And like you said, the only reason why I'm not doing like, you know, young kid stuff all day long is because I can't handle it anymore. You know, you slow down. You know, I don't drink that much anymore because the next 2 days.
I think we're the same
now.
age, so I get that. Although I am going to pour myself some more beer.
There we go. No, I thought that was. I never thought of it that way. I think I get kind of. I harp on like there's some talking points and some key words that, like, they're easy to say and they're not wrong. And one of those words is like friction. We talk about friction in VR, of making it difficult to use a headset. Yeah, you're not wrong for bringing up friction, but it is an easy point where I'm guilty of using it and not thinking broader. And I did not think that people would be so easy to adapt VR, maybe, that wasn't the norm. However, when the way you worded it, I never thought to compare it to a computer. Because if we're talking friction, the friction on the headset's putting it on and getting into the comfort of it. But the friction of a computer, there's way more things you need to know to use it adequately.
Exactly.
And I didn't think of it that way. And now that probably is going to frame my mind a little better when I use the word friction, because yes, there's friction with VR, but it's a different type of friction than the computer. And I can see how the friction on a headset actually would be easier to a degree if you were equally as unfamiliar with the technology of a computer and a VR headset. There's less friction of a headset than a computer. And to this second, I never thought of it that way. That's a really interesting way that you phrased that.
I think the main friction for me with a headset is just not being lazy and standing up and putting it on, because I'm in front of a computer and I just want to do something. But apart from that, it's not, once it's on your head, it's like, oh wow, I want to do stuff. So they just need to make them light and easier to put on, I guess.
Yeah, like right now I'm using like the Oculus Quest 2 with virtual desktop. Like that seems to be like what I go to. I'd like to use an index, but something about the ease of virtual desktop and a wireless headset works. However, I got the deluxe audio strap on it and a VR power battery pack, which isn't supposed to work with the deluxe audio strap. So the way I have it jerry-rigged, there's quite a bit of tugging and pulling at the beginning. But I find that once I get past that mental mindset, now we're having a lot of fun.
Did you ever try a Pimax, Eric? I don't remember a video of yours.
Never had the opportunity to try one. Have you?
Yeah, I have one, but I think I'm gonna say I don't actually like it that much. But
which one do you have?
Oh yeah, Mateo has it.
8K plus. I bought it. You know those things you buy, just you don't really need them, but you just buy them. Yeah, I'm sure you know.
Well, Pimax sent me an 8KX, and I was not pleased.
All right.
It just, I mean, I kept going back to the fact that I enjoy playing more on my index. Like, it's more comfortable, the audio is better. Yes, like, you can definitely get a wider field of view for sure, and you could definitely get some increased clarity on the Pimax, but at what cost? Like, there was so many issues with the Pimax, for me at least.
Did you find that, like, the thing for me was just that that distortion fishbowl effect in some games, especially with Beat Saber, it was just like crazy. I thought it would be nice to see my swords on, my sabers on the side, but then it wasn't so nice because it felt like I was in I don't know, it just didn't feel nice. So
it felt like the one game where it felt the best was Space Pirate Trainer, because you have so much more awareness. Bad guys were never sneaking up on you. You knew where they are at all times, and that headset actually looked really good in that game too. For me at least, it had better contrast than the Index. But overall, like, you always had to tweak every single game. The PyTool software was finicky. I had mostly technical issues But like you said, the viewing experience, the biggest holdback was that distortion.
Can I ask you guys,
Significant.
since you both use the Pimax, and I think the chat will probably want to know this, I do. The Pimax, correct me if I'm wrong, has one of the largest field of view out of any of the headsets. Depending on what you count, vertical, horizontal, diagonal, that kind of stuff. How much of a game changer is that? Was that the biggest sell when you were using it? Because I think, like, to a lot of us, the Index, the Oculus Quest is all I know. So anything larger than that, I can't. You can't understand what you have unless you try it.
I was expecting it to be so much cooler, and it turns out it wasn't such a huge gain. Like I often end up saying, "Oh, I can't be bothered to set that thing up just to have a bit more of." I think if you're doing sims, yeah, definitely, because it's just a functional thing. But otherwise, I don't know. I mean, it always feels you still get that effect. You still got the black sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. I mean, if it was, what's it called, Star VR, right? So if you had no, at least that's what Sebastian says, right? He says there's literally no border. Not going to spend 3,000 for that. But if it was just all the world, then okay, and no distortion, then I would like to try that, because it must be crazy.
Yeah, the trade-off is too big. Like, at least in my personal opinion, and especially if you're looking at the cost. But let's put the cost aside and just say money doesn't matter here. So the screen is really, really big. So even though it's a very high resolution screen, the pixels per inch aren't that much higher than something like a Valve Index. So you don't get a huge visual increase. But obviously we're focusing on the FOV here. And what I found more is I noticed the distortion, and even worse is like a wobble, because when you turn your head, you see like the distortion follow. It's like a edge motion blur. It's a very distinct thing, and maybe you'll adjust to it. Some people probably adjust to it quickly. I couldn't. It was always there. It was always immersion breaking, and that was, that stood out more than, wow, I could see more. And yes, you can see a lot more. Like I did, cropped visual tests, and you're seeing so much more, but it doesn't have that wow factor.
Can I ask you both a very targeted, weird question that's going to put you both on the spot a little bit? When it comes to the hardware out there, right? The people who are able to review some of these hardware, it's minimal compared to the general audience. So, for example, a Quest 2 review, yeah, I can find tons of them. It's not a problem. But when we start getting higher and higher end PCVR or any type of VR headset, my options dwindle on who I can trust. Are these headsets that are higher end, are these problems like you're having with the Pimax when you start listening to reviews, are we accepting of these problems because we want better tech, or are people kind of sugarcoating it because we just want things to be better? I'm going to ask a very targeted question there that make you call out some people possibly, but why is it where I hear an Oculus Quest review, generally speaking, I think I'm actually getting a pretty honest review. The more expensive the headset, I think they're flopped, and that's across the board. Is that because there's a want for things to be better, or are we jaded by what we have at the cheap end, if that makes sense?
That's a good question. I don't really know.
I think it's very individualized. There might be some people out there, definitely not naming names because none come to mind right now, who might say, listen, I'm going to say this headset's good, so I have a good relationship with this company. Because the second you say something's bad, they cut you off. Like HTC hasn't spoken to me since the Cosmos. That might be the case, might not be the case, whatever. They might have cut off, everybody after the Cosmos.
Yeah, I'm gonna do one thing real quick, Mateo. Sorry, I keep losing Ollie here. He's his video is in and out, man. I'm trying to get him back.
You want me to reset or something?
Hold on, let's try this real quick. I think I got you. Nah, it's frozen pretty hard. Hey,
I'm doing my Cosmos spin while you fix it.
I'll get. He's back. Yeah, the HCC. I'll let you go on, Mateo. I'll give my piece at the end. Go ahead, man.
No, but so I could see there can be some people out there who might say, "Oh, I'm not going to say anything bad because this company won't work with me anymore." For the most part, I think the VR community is fairly trustworthy, but I think a lot of things, especially in VR, are extremely subjective. Like when someone says, "Oh no, the PlayStation VR is the most comfortable headset," and another person says, "Are you kidding me? You know, it's like a block of plastic and it's chunky and it presses on my head weird." Personally, I don't like halo straps. Some people, I know people tell me like they can't use the index. The black levels are so terrible that everything looks washed out and it's the worst headset ever. Some people might be jaded. Some people, you know, it's very just subjective based on their physical hardware. When it comes to these reviews, again, they're individualized. Some person might appreciate the fact that, wow, this company is going out on a limb and trying to produce, this super wide FOV. No one else is doing that. They deserve credit for that. When I might say, listen, you shot for the stars and you missed. Sorry, it's not a great product. So I think that's what we're getting.
How about you, Oliver? Any thoughts?
I don't know what reason. I mean, I think really what Matteo said in the sense that people have such different tastes in so many things, even just games, right? So it's difficult to say, if people are accurate or if they're being dirty about reviews. I'm sure there are some people who are heavily affiliated with certain companies who do tend to kind of make a living from that, so they'll go in that direction. I'm pretty sure about that. But I generally tend to give people the benefit of the doubt, because why not? And I think that some people are just generally just really enthusiastic because they like trying out new stuff. So They're kind of like, they have like an expectation bias, and they'll kind of be like, yes, this is so cool, and I'm getting to try it, and so there's like a hype, and then they hype themselves up and they actually believe that it's awesome. But if you're not somebody doing that, and you're somebody at home buying something really expensive and putting down hard-earned money,
Yep.
and then you get like, I like my index better, then
Yeah.
luckily you can set it again.
I have no problem, especially after having a few drinks here, to get a little spicy. There's two groups that two people I'll call out. So for one, and I'm a little envious. I've talked a little bit. I actually never talked about him publicly, but like BMF, he is your example of always positive. And I have personally joked on him a little bit about that. BMF, if you're listening, I got no problem telling you that. I've joked on you about that. But I'm also a little envious because there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe he's like what you just said, Oliver. He's just excited for all this new stuff. That's awesome. I wish I could be that way. I'm not. I'm a little more cynical. That's just me.
As Oliver was saying that statement, I was thinking BMF.
Yes.
Honestly. Like, I mean, we know him. He's a very positive guy, though.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But he's over to me, being the semi, cynic that I am. It's a little frustrating sometimes because I would like a little more nuance. But at the same time, Oliver, I think you bring up a great point. Some people are just really excited. I think that's great. I wish I could be like that sometimes. On the opposite end, when we're talking about companies like HTC, the HTC Vive, the original, was what really got me into VR, and I loved them to death. I'll be honest, they put me in like that top 100 list of something. I don't know. I didn't read it. I didn't respond to them. They asked me for an interview. I didn't respond to them because I don't respect them. It's anytime they come out with a new headset or a new product or something, all of a sudden they're all candid and all over the place and want to be your friend. Then the product comes out, they disappear. I'm not going to tolerate that. I'm not going to join them on their mission for the publicity when they want it. This kind of it's a stupid point. I'm not trying to
rant. No, go.
It's a rant, but I think Oliver, it's a good point, and it made me actually reevaluate. Like my thoughts on people who were overtly positive. I respect it. I think it's cool. They're excited about new tech, and I'm a little envious about it.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but what types of kids were you at school? Because I was the kind of marginalized guy who was, when I was in England, I was Italian. When I was in Italy, I was English, right? So I was always like spaghetti in one place and fucking English snob in another, right? So that was kind of my life when I was a kid. And when I grew up, I became like a heavy metal guy, right? I had hair down to hair and I was all dressed in black, right? So I was that kind of person, always kind of against the kind of mainstream guy who's smiley and stuff. Now I'm a bit older and I kind of get different points of view, but I think there are roles that we play, right? So you're going to have the guy who's kind of a bit more of a, I'm not going to say Boy Scout, but a bit more kind of Nathy style, right? I'm going to do smiley videos and I'm always kind of happy in my videos. It's not for me. I get it. Most people like that, right? It's not for me. I like Blair because he's like, fuck that. And I kind of
Yes,
like
it
that
is.
kind of thing. Feels more real to me, right? So I get his toxic positivity stuff. I like that kind of thing. But it's a tastes thing in the end, right?
Yeah. Like I look at a video that just got posted today. I'll call Mateo. Like we talked about this already. Mateo made a video today on the Lynx VR. His title, clearly not a competitor with the Oculus Quest, and I would agree with Mateo, right? Then I watched Thrill Seeker post a video a few hours later, maybe, basically alluding to the Lynx being an Oculus Quest competitor in a way, kind of not really, but in a way, yes. And initially, my gut reaction is, what the hell, guys. Well, you got Mateo over here speaking what I think is the truth, and Thrill Seeker over here getting clicks. But then people like you are kind of remind me, okay, we all have different preferences. We all think about things differently. No one's wrong here. So as I speak through the stream, as I kind of keep making content, my views constantly change. It's more nuanced, like we've been talking about with headsets. Everyone's presenting themselves and their preferences in a different way, just like headset reviews. And we all need to get on board with that. Everyone's a little different. We're all looking for different things. And if you got a problem with someone clickbaiting, you got a problem with someone saying something in a title, it's probably more on you than anyone else. We're all a little different. And it hurts me to say that a little bit.
There's a lot of aspects to that. There are definitely, there might be some people who be like, listen, people respond much better when I'm positive. And then they were positive and realized they like being positive.
Mm-hmm.
And they took on that persona, and that's really who they are at this point. There's probably some people out there who are just faking it. They got to be like, oh my God, this is the most amazing can ever. Look, it's in green.
Looks pretty good.
Now in green. But that stuff works. So there's a feedback, people also respond to that. People don't respond. I got called, always pessimistic, always jaded, whatever. And I'm just calling out bullshit. When you talk about the Lynx, they can come out and say, listen, we're going to be a Quest competitor. Doesn't mean they're going to be a Quest competitor. They got an uphill battle. Even if they're going to get the price down to a few $100s, like they said, that's without controllers. They have no, software ecosystem, controllers again. And then the AR aspect, they can say, hey, but we also have AR. Well, it's not proven yet. So you're not a competitor.
Yeah.
I hope they prove me wrong, but I'm just calling it like it is.
Yeah, and there's also some kind of objective stuff as well, right? Because I don't hear any one of the kind of more positive guys talking about the stuff that you guys talk about a little bit more, right? So I think the thing is that there's a kind of a culture, which I feel, I'm sorry about if I say this, if I offend anyone, but I'm going to say it. I feel it's a slightly like a US or maybe an English-speaking culture thing, right? Because the Brits are a bit like that. So I'm half Brit, so I can say that. So there's a kind of, and this goes back to the toxic positivity thing, and it goes back to needing to be positive as a cultural kind of trait, right? We need to be positive. It's not good to see the negative stuff. So Italians are too much the other way around. It's like everything sucks. But if we go back to what I was trying to say, the point is that you need to recognize the dark side of things, because that's where you see the stuff you don't want to see, right? People don't want to see ill people, old people, ugly people, sad people, but they exist and they kind of need help as well. So if there's one thing I'd like to get across, is that don't close yourself in, everything's cool and shiny, because you're just going to have a panic attack further on down the road. Might as well look the shit in the face and try and solve some stuff. So that's why I appreciate you guys and Blair and that kind of culture, because I feel it comes from a place of kind of honesty in some way, right? And yeah, that's basically the thing. So it's, yes, everybody has their own way, everybody's accepted, do what you want, but then if I have to tell you what I prefer, then, if somebody's always positive, I don't want that. I want something a bit more real.
If someone's always positive, how do you trust them anymore? And it's not like I think they're dishonest. I just think they're always going to say, rainbows and sunshine.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to just, it's in their nature to miss all the blatant issues.
Yeah,
because they don't care. Exactly. It doesn't bother them.
Yeah, it's a tough subject. I think at the end of the day, what I hope at the end of the day, I'll put aside toxic positivity or toxic negativity or whatever. I'll put it all aside. I just hope that anyone who's making content right now, like in any form, whether it's stuff like this, podcasts that are just audio, whether it's content, I don't care. If you're talking about VR, I just hope that you're putting in the honesty that you're trying to build the VR future that you want to see, rather than the VR future that pays you right now, if that makes sense. Because at the end of the day, like I grew up, like I started right when dial-up, like that's right at the end of dial-up is when I started the internet. I didn't know what it was going to turn into, and I definitely didn't really get involved in it until I was like 18, 19. But if I had any say in like what it would have become, I might have been a Facebook detractor at the beginning if I knew what it was going to become. But all I can do right now is at least make the content that I hope VR becomes, or XR. It's really all we can do. And at the end of the day, I will talk shit in DMs. I will. Like, I'm just going to be honest. But I need to do better. Oliver, goddamn, man, you're being my therapist in this one. So not only are you a physiotherapist, but you're my actual therapist as well, and making me open my mind to be a little more nuanced in my thoughts. So maybe
Wasn't
you need a new job. Hey, it ain't a bad outcome, though. I'll tell you that.
No, true.
What's up? Oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, I wasn't really going to say anything. I was just going to make noises.
Hey, that's what some people are doing in VR. But let's end it with this. And when I say end it, we still got plenty of time, wherever you need it. But what's like I talked about before pre-stream, I want to give you the floor, and we can talk about it a little bit. What's making you happy right now? What's optimistic in VR? Basically, I'd like to give you the floor for the last topic of just that feel-good sense of where we're going with VR, what you want to see, and what would make you happy if it turned out that way.
Oh,
I know.
that's tough. That's really tough. Because I feel like it's going to be something I don't expect. And because I'm not in a rush for anything new. Like, I'm absolutely fine with it as it is. In the sense that we tend to... Okay, so why do we like VR, right? I think that it's not just that we like VR, it's that we liking VR. And we want to like VR because a lot of us, not just us, but a lot of people in the chat, a lot of people in the VR community, it's not just the VR as the thing in itself. It's just that it's the first sort of slice of future that is completely accessible to us now. And I think people who are in VR now are generally dreamers, right? They're kind of people who like to kind of have this idea that they're kind of on the boundary with the future. But the future is always going to be further ahead than where you are. So, you know, whatever comes out tomorrow will just be normalized. And in time, this will become like the internet is now, something we take for granted, something that's just everywhere. So I'm not in no hurry to get there. I like it as it is now, with a kind of a small family. So I guess my kind of idea would be enjoy this, because it's not going to be like this forever. It's going to be, it's, you know, these dreams will have to be on something else later on. Maybe it's going to be space travel. Maybe it's going to be, I don't know, whatever rocks your boat. But it's like getting a bit lost there. But generally, I think we kind of like the idea of being on the cutting edge of something. So I don't really know what I'm waiting for. I guess it would be nice to play some really, really good, well thought out VR games. I mean, if I have to be completely honest, something with, you know, haptics and everything, the whole lot. So yeah, I can't deny I would love that. Something like I don't know, something like Mass Effect done really well, or I don't know, The Witcher 3. I don't know if you guys like that even, but
Yes,
I loved that game.
I think me and Oliver are related.
Yes.
You're Italian,
Yeah.
so you know.
See.
But yeah, so go for it.
I just say, like, I like your mentality of enjoying what we have now, because that's what I'm enjoying, is more the accessibility to the technology. So something about VR, like, I get it, like a computer technically is more accessible to everybody, and in a way it can do more. It can do more, absolutely. There's no debate. Where we're going, though, I think VR, AR, XR will do more overall, that's more impactful. And I just want to see the accessibility. Like, as long as you can get a headset, like, that's really all I care about right now. I don't care if it takes like a decade. I just hope you can get a headset, because what I think that technology is going to allow someone to do is far greater than any potential game would provide them. Like, I don't care. Like, yeah, I want more AAA games. I want more games. Like, Elite Sniper, I talked to Mateo about this. I was a little disappointed in my first time playing it. It's gotten better, but like, it's a game. But if someone at least can get a headset and have the accessibility, maybe for a virtual desktop, and have multiple screens and to do something fun, like, and have that ability to have that, like, that's all I care about really in the next 10 years. I just want the accessibility to keep increasing so that next computing platform, which I do think it will be, and if Mark Zuckerberg has his way, it will be, I just want it to be accessible. And if it takes a decade or plus, just keep getting headsets in the hands of people because they're going to need it. That's what I care about right now.
And also, it feels like, if you watch the channels, it feels like, okay, we've got all these VR games out, and now where's the next thing? Where's the next thing? Where's the next thing, right? But it's tiring. Like, I wish people kind of go over hidden games that are good, and, stuff that kind of, I don't know, just more videos about the games that already exist, because there's some excellent stuff that is, like, just kind of forgotten. It's like everybody's rushing forward, and I don't want to live my life rushing forward.
Well, how about we end it here then? Let's go through you, then Mateo, then me, on a game that doesn't get enough attention that you want people to know about. How about we end it that way? We all get a little recommendation to the chat or anyone watching on what they should be trying that's been out for whenever. I can start if you guys want me to. What you guys think? That's fine.
Go for it.
Give us some time.
I'm sure I'll have something left over by the time you get to me.
Okay, so I'm gonna go real old school. It's shitty graphics. It's got borderline no story, no purpose, but I think it embodies why VR is fun. Jet Island.
Oh.
So
I knew you were gonna name that one.
I think it is I think it's a flawless game. So Jet Island, for anyone who hasn't played, is PC VR only. So I apologize for Quest users, but you will easily be able to use it with Revive. With a virtual desktop or Revive. I've tried it with both. It works. Jet Island is a game where you have a hoverboard. You'll have it from step one, and it's got a jet, and you are on an island. Jet Island. It's self-explanatory. There is no direction to what you need to do. There is nothing but start traversing this world. And as you start traversing this world, you'll find power-ups, and you'll find things that give you grappling hooks and better jetpacks and better abilities. And as you traverse the land, you'll find there are four bosses. One you'll see pretty early on because it's flying up in the sky, but there's no way you'll get to it. And as you find these bosses, they are ginormous in scale. We are talking Shadow of the Colossus level design. I mean, they are ginormous. And you will have to take them down. And as you take them down, you get more abilities. And there's literally no point. There's no story. There's no dialogue, no nothing. But the scale, the speed, the fun, it is basically as sandboxy as sandbox can be. And it's an absolute blast. If you haven't tried Jet Island, it's my number one game I'd recommend to you. By the way, Mateo, I lost your video. I don't know how, but you're off. But either way, I can still hear you. So I know you're still here. But Jet Island is my pick if you haven't played it. So that's mine.
Okay. You go, Mateo. I'm going to get some more time.
Okay. I mean, I'll try and go... I'll try and be as less mainstream as possible. I mean, I already mentioned Vertigo Remastered earlier. That game was way ahead of its time. It was a very early single-player VR shooter. I always refer to it as Rick and Morty meets Half-Life. It's very Half-Life inspired, but that game is phenomenal. I love Carnage Chronicles.
Yes.
There are very few RPG titles out there, let alone co-op RPG titles. For an indie game, it is absolutely just like mind-blowing. They did so many things well. That game is fantastic. Now, there's another game that actually I just reached out to the developers yesterday and said, "What happened? Your game is off Steam." That's Silicon Rising. So now I know they're a Chinese company. They told me they don't know what happened. They're working with Steam. They don't know why their game got pulled. They have no idea what happened. But Silicon Rising is just it. I don't know why I have such a crush on this game. It has amazing graphics. Like, they suck you into the world instantly. So it has amazing graphics. It's a shooter that you can play in two different modes, like You could play it as like arcade style, duck behind cover style shooter, and there's no locomotion at all. And then, people are like, oh no, we want free locomotion, So you could play the entire game with free locomotion, and it plays completely different. And it's almost like, it almost has a little bit of a bullet hell aspect to it. But there's just something about, like, it really keeps you moving. Great graphics, and I don't know, and there's like a decent amount of variety in there. One mission you're driving a car, another mission you're a sniper. So it's a really cool game. Again, those graphics are like amazing, especially in VR. And I don't know what happened. I hope the game gets resolved and comes back on Steam.
You've
All right,
been
you're
talking
up.
about that for a long while. In fact, I have to try those both because
I don't know how that's the
Anthony
first
from
time. That's the first time I've
Anthony
heard of that
from
game.
what the one
Silicon
Matteo just
Rising.
said,
Yeah, Silicon Rising.
yeah, I know he's been
It-
talking about it forever. It's like every time there's a video.
Like, it's not amazing, but I don't know why, like, something about it. Like, because caught me so off guard. It was years ago. It was on Viveport. I'm like, whatever. There's no games at all for VR. I bought it, and I'm like, what? This is awesome. And then I reached out to the developers, and we've spoken since. And then, like, over a year later, it finally came to Steam. They added so much to the game, and it could be brutally hard. I don't know. I dig it.
Well, Ollie, we'll
I'm gonna
end
try
with you,
that.
man,
I'm gonna
because
try.
all the video, I don't know why, but up until now, we were good, but the videos are all now
Weird.
going to hell. So let's end it with Oliver's recommendation of the hidden gem, and we'll end it there.
Okay, so I'm not sure that I've played enough games to have a really good one, but I'm gonna just say a few ones that I really enjoyed, and you can kind of pick your favorites. Most of them are kind of on the physical side because I mainly played stuff for fitness during lockdown. The one that I really enjoyed, although it's kind of not nearly as realistic as Thrill of the Fight, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really cute little game. Was Knockout League, and that's
great.
pretty damn old.
Yeah.
And you get a good workout. You do a lot of side squats and stuff like that. If you like that kind of, it's like that old game on the 8-bit Nintendo, which was with like Mike Tyson or something. So you have to kind of memorize the order of things and just do that. But you get a good workout and it's fun, and you really feel like beating the shit out of some of them because they have really annoying faces. And then another one that's great that is not like so non-mainstream, but I think it's amazing is Blade and Sorcery.
Yes.
You can stay in there for hours and just rip people to shreds. Another great one is Sacrilith.
I haven't heard of that one.
That's a one like a bow and arrow one. I mean, most people are playing In Death now, but Sacrilith is quite nice as well. And then I think my favorite rhythm one is actually Audica, because once you get good at it, I don't know, it's just more rhythmy than Beat Saber. Beat Saber's nice, but Audica is so much more skilled in a way, I find. And yeah, and I think that's about it. Maybe just Rogan? No, not Rogan. No, maybe.
Wow. Wait, hold on. Wait, is that game out?
Rogan? Yeah, it's out, but it's shit.
Wow, that it came out. I remember seeing the trailer at one of like Upload VR showcases
Wow,
or something, and that's the last time I ever heard of Rogan. That's the last time. Wow.
There was one. What was it called? Oh, I can't remember. There was one that was kind of like Pistol Whip ages ago, but I can't remember what it was called. I know about that one thanks to Anthony from VRC 365. It was like a Pistol Whip ages ago. I can't remember the name of it. So, and I guess if I had to end on one rather cute one, it's Fisherman's Tale. I think that's been out for quite a while. But there's loads of others. Just can't think of them, on the spot.
Well, I'll give one more recommendation real quick before we end this, because both your videos have now gone out.
Oh, shit.
I don't know why, but both of them have. But everyone in the chat, if you can use Virtual Desktop, PCVR, I believe it's free. Don't quote me on this. But Museum of Other Realities, if you just want a nice, peaceful exploration of what people are doing. The Museum of Other Realities, you were able to basically walk around a museum and view attractions. And this museum, There are some attractions where you can go over to them and click on them, and you will be transported into the attraction. There are other ones that are built for you to just view them, and you can fly and move around the space. It is, and it just got an update recently with some new stuff, so it gets constant new attractions. They're beautiful, they're amazing. Highly recommend the Museum of Other Realities if you haven't. But with the videos going the way they are, we'll probably end this one here. Oliver, thank you very much for stopping by, my man.
Thank you. It was really cool to be on, and also I think just I'm gonna say this for myself, but I'm sure loads of people feel that way. Thank you for what you're doing, because it's not like many people are doing this kind of thing in VR. The idea of raising money for things and talking about things that not many people talk about. And also, Matteo, I watch you a lot. I appreciate your stuff. I like seeing that there's a kind of a slightly more alternative group of people, right? There are others, but you guys have been very important, I think, in this. So I think it's good to kind of say thanks for that. And I'm sure there's lots of people who agree with that. So
Hey, all we can do, anyone who's in the chat, if you're like, I see like Koslav and all these people that I know make content or at least showcase it. Like, all you can do right now is just show the VR content that you want VR to be. Like, if you believe in VR, just make anything and show what you want people to see. That's all you can do. And this is what I want people to see. Koslav in here, this is what I know what you put online. That's what you want people to see. Like, that's all we can do. Same thing with Matteo. Do the best you can.
Yeah.
Show people what you can and what you want people to know about. If they pick it up, great. If they don't, hey, no problem. Everyone's got different tastes. We've talked about that. But all I can say is put out the content that you want people to see and make VR what you want it to be. But with that being said, especially with the videos going the way they are right now, as always, everybody, shout out to the second channel. If you missed any of this, please go to Eric for President Clips on YouTube. I'll try to put the thing in the chat one more time so you can get the snippets of the highlights in here. I don't know why I just copy and pasted that, but I'll get it in the chat. It's in the chat. It's also in the pinned comment. I'm going to leave it there. But as always, guys, thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you next time, Space Cowboys. Peace.
Ciao.
Bye, everybody.